We start tonight on day 3 of the Supreme Court confirmation hearings as lawmakers on the Senate Judiciary Committee continue their questioning of Judge Ketanji Brown Jackson. CBS News correspondent Debra Alfarone reports from Washington.
On her final day in the witness chair, U.S. Supreme Court nominee Ketanji Brown Jackson said she'll bring all of her experiences to the bench if she is confirmed.
Mine include being a trial judge, being an appellate judge, being a public defender, being a Black woman, lucky inheritor of the civil rights dream.
Senate Majority Leader Chuck Schumer attended part of Day 3's session, which was marked by partisan bickering.
For many of senators, yesterday was an opportunity to showcase talking points for the November election.
Every time somebody on this side of the aisle asks questions of the judge, you come back and you denigrate and you attack.
Committee Republicans accused Judge Jackson of activism in past decisions and pressed her again on sentencings in her child pornography cases.
No one case can stand in for a judge's entire sentencing record. I've sentenced more than 100 people.
Senate Democrats have praised Judge Jackson's performance as impressive, but Republican leaders have characterized her answers as evasive.
She's declined to address critically important questions and ameliorate real concerns.
You will become a member of the U.S. Supreme Court.
Democrats have signaled they're confident Judge Jackson will ultimately be confirmed by the evenly divided Senate, with a final vote expected ahead of the Easter holiday. Debra Alfarone, CBS News, Capitol Hill.
For more, let's bring in two aces, Scott MacFarlane and Nicholas Wu. Scott is CBS News' congressional correspondent, and Nicholas is a congressional reporter for Politico. Welcome to you both. Scott, Republicans, they've been hammering this issue of child exploitation with Judge Jackson. Why is this particular issue so front and center?
Yeah, Bob, yesterday it was one senator, Senator Josh Hawley of Missouri, asking the judge about her record in sentencing or defending defendants who were charged with child exploitation crimes. Today, it was several Republican senators doing so. Add Lindsey Graham, add Ted Cruz to the list. And they're making this argument through their questioning that the judge has a record of going below what prosecutors recommend when she sentenced defendants for child exploitation. Now, there is no sense among the congressional staff with whom I speak that any of these questions are likely to impact the final vote, that votes are to be swayed by what happened yesterday and today with questions about child exploitation. But let's take a step back and unpack this a bit. This is a tough issue to talk about aloud. I've reported on child exploitation for years as I report on the criminal justice system. It's just a tough topic to talk about. It's so horrific. It's so heinous. There's that potential, Bob, that people will want to change the channel and not listen to it. Yet Republicans had a drumbeat, a deliberate drumbeat talking about child exploitation. I asked Lindsey Graham during a break today, is this a message issue for Republicans? Are they going to talk about this after the confirmation hearings and criticize the administration or the Justice Department? He didn't directly answer, but we've seen Supreme Court nomination hearings in the past where one party chooses to make a drumbeat issue that they will extend into the election season. And we recall what happened last year in Virginia. Republicans succeeded campaigning on issues of child safety and child protection.
Nicholas, what does this all mean for the whip count in terms of whether Judge Jackson is confirmed?
Well, Bob, it doesn't look like it's really moving the whip count that much. One of my colleagues went and asked Senator Jon Tester, one of the few remaining red state Democrats, what he thought of these attacks. And Tester called it an expletive. He used some colorful language to describe these attacks. To a lot of Democrats, it looks like these attacks are being drummed up by Republicans to really gain any angle of attack on Judge Jackson, especially among Republicans who are angling to run for president in 2024. And so for now, at the very least, it looks like these attacks are largely bouncing off of Judge Jackson and are not moving the whip count.
Scott, tell us about the other Senate hearing you've been following today regarding semiconductor chips.
Yeah, there was another hearing. It's always difficult to counter-program in the U.S. Senate when there's a Supreme Court confirmation hearing going, but there was an important one, an important hearing in the Senate Commerce Committee where they had the CEOs of Intel and Micron, the major semiconductor manufacturers in America, in front of the Senate panel, warning of a crisis that has begun and a bigger crisis that's looming, a shortage of chips, semiconductor chips. The United States and its manufacturers produce about 12% of the world's semiconductor chips. And what are chips used for? Pretty much everything. Your car, your refrigerator, your phone, your tablet, your children's Nintendo Switch at home. And the device shortage, the supply chain disruptions are a threat to Americans' ability to purchase all those items. More profoundly, it's a threat to the ability of manufacturers to make and deliver these items in a timely fashion. The Senate Commerce Committee said today, its chair said today, this is also a national security issue. We are tethering ourselves as a country too much to Asia, to Eastern Europe in delivering and in ensuring the supply chain for these items. And here's what's on the table: a $52 billion CHIPS Act bill. Congress had bipartisan support for this bill to invest $52 billion tax dollars in U.S. manufacturing and U.S. research in chip development. But as has many things in Congress these days, it's kind of stalled. And you know, Bob, that when these bills stall, bad things happen from there.
I'm glad you're tracking it all, Scott, because with the war in Ukraine and the economy and SCOTUS hearings, sometimes some issues don't get in the spotlight. And you brought it into the spotlight. Another issue, Nicholas, that was in the spotlight, but not so much now, is COVID funding. So many of my sources among Democrats on Capitol Hill say they would like to see more happen in the months before the midterm elections. What's the chances of that happening, especially in a divided Senate?
Well, right now, this is another piece of legislation that's also stalled out. And just as experts are warning about a potential wave of COVID coming in the next few months. The problem here, you'll remember, is that there was $15 billion in COVID funding that the administration had asked for. That got stripped out of a bigger government funding bill a couple weeks ago over inter-party disputes. The problem there was that the administration had worked on a deal with congressional leadership to basically take COVID relief money for states and reallocate it towards the COVID funding for testing and therapeutics and the like. This was something that led to a revolt within the caucus. As one lawmaker put it to me, you were asking her to say that they wanted, however millions of dollars to go back to their own community in this government funding bill that they were going to all vote for. But at the same time, this would lead to a cut in her state's budget of hundreds of millions of dollars. And so this is the pickle that we end up in here. In the 50-50 Senate, any deal requires Republican senators to get on board here. And trying to figure out where exactly the sweet spot is that you can get Republican senators to vote for COVID funding and keep all Democrats together, that's going to be hard.
Indeed. Scott, turning to the January 6 matters, defendants in some of those cases are starting to pick up steam in terms of how those cases are progressing. What can you tell us? What are the latest top-line developments this week?
Significant breakthroughs in the courthouse where Judge Ketanji Brown Jackson used to preside, the Washington, D.C. federal courthouse. Earlier this week, a New Mexico County commissioner, an elected official, went on trial. The second trial in a January 6 case out of nearly 775 defendants. And for the second time, the U.S. Justice Department secured a conviction against a January 6 defendant, laying down another marker, more leverage for the prosecutors with the hundreds more defendants to come. But there are, in fact, many more defendants to come. And there's progress in another one of those big cases, the cases of the accused Proud Boy conspirators. Enrique Tarrio, leader of the Proud Boys, was supposed to have his arraignment yesterday. It got pushed back to next week, but there was a revelation in the process. The U.S. Justice Department indicated that case, the case of the Proud Boys, is poised to get bigger with more search warrants, more phone devices, and, most importantly, more defendants. This is potentially the most provocative case. The Proud Boys, Bob, are accused of plotting and planning, coming to Washington, D.C. January 6, 2021, with a plan and ready for action. We're going to watch this case particularly closely. This is one of those high-level cases, and there's movement.
Nicholas, turning back to Russia's invasion of Ukraine, the House on Thursday last week voted 424-8 to suspend normal trade relations with Russia. So what's the holdup in the Senate on that issue?
What we have here is a classic Capitol Hill problem. It's an issue that both parties seem to agree on. I mean, like you just mentioned, there was this lopsided House vote. But in the Senate, Republicans have wanted this trade relations bill to be paired with another piece of legislation that would deal with oil imports from Russia. So here's the tricky thing, trying to figure out, again, how to get this through the Senate. You need 10 Republicans to get on board. And on top of it all, the Senate leaves tomorrow. And so it looks like right now there could be some sort of progress on a bipartisan deal to allow this trade relations bill to move forward, while separate legislation banning Russian oil imports also moves through the Senate. And so we'll be watching very closely to see how exactly these negotiations hammer out in this last day or so before the Senate leaves town.
And we'll be following reporting from both of you. Scott MacFarlane and Nicholas Wu, thank you.